Good this year with 3 tight ends on the field, known as 13 personnel. Of course, the trend started in week 6 at the Ravens, the start of that win streak. And despite not taking a single snap before that, LA still has more plays, yards, and touchdowns than any other team all season. Dan, how are the Rams able to find so much success with this particular 13 personnel grouping?
Yeah, there's a simplicity in their run game. And then the tight ends are so good blocking in space. And I think about, okay, is Detroit going to cover them in these receivers like they did Dallas? If they do, this is why the tight ends matter.
Yeah.
So they'll just run outside zone. And the big thing is their ability to, 1, double team, and then 2, those tight ends are blocking little people down the field then. And I don't care, you're not putting jumbo personnel on the field to stop this on first down. Then they'll run duo. The great thing about their duo is it's not just a front side hitting run game. It is a backside hit run as well. And so these backs have got great vision. And we've talked about this all season with this offense, is that keeper game. This looks just like that outside zone that I showed initially. The defense is fully committed to stopping it. And then once again, we're throwing 5-yard passes that go for 15 yards. I think this is a huge challenge for Detroit, because if Detroit wants to cover in kind of that double team world with Puka and Devontae, they did the way they did with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. This is a different beast when it comes to their ability to put their tight ends on the field and run the football if I was LA.
Yeah, I think they'll use it, 13 personnel and the tight ends. But I got to say, these wide receivers versus the Detroit corners is a big mismatch that regardless of whether you've got 2 of them or 3 of them. I actually would want to get 3 of them on the field, because if you got Puka Nacua in the slot, he's going up against 5'9" Amik Robertson. DJ Reed is 5'9". We've seen them really struggle downfield over the last few weeks. To me, Matthew Stafford, and when you think about it from Detroit's standpoint, it's such a mismatch that you almost have to play the variance game with your pass rush. I know you're nervous about blitzing Matthew Stafford, as you should be. But if they don't get him on the ground, I struggle to see how they stop the Rams through the air when I look at these rosters and I see those mismatches at wide receiver versus cornerback.
I think what Dan and Mean just highlighted is the fact that the Los Angeles Rams can really just do anything. They have a great run scheme that's versatile and diverse, and they have a pass game that's amazing because their quarterback can make every throw. Puka Nacua is absolutely phenomenal at every level of the field, and Devontae Adams has become some sort of red zone merchant. Right? So you can do everything, and so now the onus is on Kelvin Shepherd, who, if you go throughout this season, has done really well in big games being game plan specific. You think about the Tampa Bay game early on Monday night, and then also now what we saw against the Dallas Cowboys. I think the difficulty for him is, what are you planning to stop? What personnel will you play defensively? Will you apply zone or man? How will you pressure? And I think all of those variations of what the Los Angeles Rams can do is going to make it extremely difficult on Kelvin to match Sean McVay play for play.
Yeah, guys, this Rams offense reminds me a lot of the Eagles offense from last year, in the realm of, okay, we can run it, and they'll run it as much as they want, and they can run it explosively or efficiently, and it's become explosive. That was the thing that was lacking. And then it's like, okay, well, we got to bring another person down to the party to stop the run, and then it's a different world than Philadelphia was capable of last year. And so now it's this offense that really is the most difficult offense in the NFL to defend, because you can't necessarily stop the run on a consistent basis unless you have that extra person down there, and you really can't cover these guys both on the perimeter one-on-one.
Yeah, and then Matthew Stafford is orchestrating the whole thing. Stafford has 26 pass touchdowns in man coverage, by far the most in the NFL. But he has 9 against zone, which ranks third. Third best.
What it means is he's good all the time.
He's really good.
All the time.
All right, let's get to some more information here. Time for AI-generated fantasy insights provided by IBM. And this week, Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs, number 3 on the list of Watson X Boom projections. He's projected to have a high of 22 points versus the Rams. So if you have Jahmyr Gibbs on your fantasy team, listen, you wouldn't have him on your bench. You'd be starting him, but make sure you start him, okay? That's a personal note for me, because sometimes I forget who's on my bench.
Listen, you can say what you want about being up 2 scores, and this one's going to haunt me.
Mayfield throws the ball downfield. Picked off. It's intercepted. The first takeaway by the Falcons.
They're throwing for the end zone. It's Pitts. Did he hold on? Touchdown, Atlanta.
It was inexcusable, and there's no answer for it.
So Atlanta with a chance to win this. Kick by Gonzalez. It is good. Atlanta wins.
To win the division, we have to win out. That's as plain and simple as it is.
Well, what an interesting game last night it was. We welcome you to NFL Live on a Friday. So glad to be with you here. We've got RC, we've got Mina, we've got Dan. Week 15 getting underway last night in Tampa with the Falcons visiting the Bucs in prime time. And let's get into it. By the way, congrats to Dan. He was the only one picking the Falcons. Okay, we begin with Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins going head-to-head on Thursday. Bowles, who also was not happy about the outcome after the Bucs lost.
It's inexcusable. You don't make excuses. You gotta care enough where the hurts. You gotta care enough where the hurts. It gotta mean something to you. It's more than a job. It's your livelihood. How well do you know your job? How well can you do your job? Well, you can't sugarcoat that. It was inexcusable, and there's no answer for it. There's no excuse for it. That's what you tell them in the locker room. Look in the mirror.
Tell us how you really feel, Todd Bowles. RC, what has you most concerned about the Bucs after last night?
One, they got the nicest man in the world cursing in press conferences. Todd Bowles doesn't raise his voice at anyone.
Yeah.
This is letting the quiet part be said out loud. And I think why Todd Bowles is so emotional is because it's his defense that's been letting him down. You go back to the Buffalo game with Baker Mayfield playing well there. And then now last night you have a 2-touchdown lead. You get a big fumble that puts you up. And now you have to make a stop, whether it's Sills or it's Kyle Pitts or it's Bijan Robinson. There were too many busts in coverages, too many wide open players for Kirk Cousins to distribute the football to. And that's why you see that frustration. That's a personal frustration with Todd Bowles. This team started the season 6-2 and have now lost 5 of their last 6 games. This was a defense that used to apply pressure, create turnovers, and play with physicality. We're not seeing that from them down the stretch.
Yeah, I agree with you. I will say, Mayfield's interception does deserve blame in addition to the defense there in a crucial moment near the end of the game. And that's something we have seen over the course of the season. But watching the defense and watching Kirk Cousins light them up as he has over the last couple of years when he's played, I think what strikes me, RC, is just when they don't get pressure, it just feels like there's too many places that a quarterback like Cousins can attack. And in this case, you can point to the absence of Zion McCollum. Obviously, they went after Kendall Vildor, who's the backup in coverage. But when they don't get pressured this season, they struggle. They're 28th in yards per play allowed when they don't get pressure. And pressure hasn't simply been consistent enough, especially when they don't blitz. So from top to bottom, we can talk about the offense. The offense finally got healthy. Mike Evans came back. He looked, frankly, incredible.
Yes, he did.
But this defense,
he
when I
did.
think about this team and their struggles, is going to be the thing that I worry about the most.
Yeah, Dan, obviously the Falcons are out of playoff contention. I mentioned earlier you picked them yesterday. You had seen some stuff on the tape that maybe you felt like was going to give them an advantage in this one. What'd you like about what you saw from them last night?
Well, number one, ever since Kirk Cousins come back, he's played at a pretty good clip, and their offense has got back to some traditional stuff. Putting him under center has massively helped their play-action pass game, so kudos to Atlanta on that. Kyle Pitts' use, this wasn't just a one-game thing for Kyle Pitts either. Last night, he was great, but this has kind of been the trend for this offense, the way that they used to get matchups for him, to attack coverage for him, and with no Drake London, you guys kind of made the point. For this offense to just consistently throw the ball to David Sills and Kyle Pitts and the Bucs defense not be able to stop them. So I want to give credit to Atlanta for continuing to lean into that. But on top of the Tampa point, they've lost back-to-back weeks to the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. Both teams are basically out of the playoffs. One, because in many ways, Emeka drops the game-tying touchdown last week. And then, listen, I love Baker. Baker's got to hit that crosser last night on third down. He has to make that throw. If he makes it, they win. This team's reeling right now. Yeah, you heard Baker say it off the very top of our show. It's must-win for them for the rest of the way. They got to win out. The Bucs lose. That means advantage Panthers. They lead the NFC South in December for the first time in a decade. I guess we shouldn't be laughing, but my good. Okay.
Good job, Panthers. All right, time to talk Rams.
Next hour, we are gearing up for a massive Sunday in the NFL. We got playoff implications all the way around.
Yeah, we sure do. Derek Brown of the now division-leading Carolina Panthers will join us live, and we have quarterback questions in Cincinnati and Indianapolis. And that's where we begin with the QB question in Indy. Will it be Phillip Rivers or Riley Leonard on Sunday? Colts head coach Shane Steichen speaking moments ago. Take a listen. It's new on SportsCenter.
We're going to work through that right now. We literally just got off the practice field, but he had a good week of work, and we'll have those discussions here in the next couple hours. I mean, a guy that hasn't been out there in 5 years to go out and practice the way he did this week was pretty impressive to watch. So, like I said, we'll have those conversations here in the next couple hours, and then we'll make a decision.
Joining us from Indianapolis is our Colts reporter, Stephen Holder, and you've been all over this story. Where is the needle pointing when it comes to whether or not Phillip Rivers will get the start on Sunday?
I mean, things continue to point very strongly toward that direction of Phillip Rivers starting this game at 44 years old after 5 years away from the NFL. Just an incredible journey in just a matter of a few days. It continues to head in that direction. What they were trying to do this week is really take this on a literal day-by-day basis. Evaluate from day to day how he felt, how he looked in practice, and all those indications are good right now. What they were really doing is looking for reasons, it seems, to not do this, and they have not found any to date, it seems. I asked Coach Shane Steichen, what would prevent you from going through with this? And all he said was, look, we're just going to continue to have a few more conversations and go from there. So I guess the answer is pretty much nothing.
Yeah, it feels incredibly surreal for Indy to turn to a 44-year-old QB to help save their season. However, Phillip Rivers did say just a couple of days ago that he's not trying to play the hero. What are Colts players saying about Rivers coming into the fold, though?
They're really pumped, and I think you could feel an energy in the locker room this week, and it is definitely related, I believe, to the presence of Phillip Rivers. And I will give you the example of running back Jonathan Taylor, who was a rookie when Phillip Rivers was first here in 2020. And he said, this is like a full circle moment for me. He said it's a little insane playing with Phillip Rivers because it makes you have to bring your level up so much. He talked about being a rookie and having to really study and learn the playbook at an elite level because Phillip Rivers comes in and makes all these demands and changes protections and changes this and that. And he said, it really forced me to really up my game in terms of learning and studying. And he said all that came flooding back to him this week. So they are definitely ready to welcome Phillip Rivers to the starting lineup if that indeed is what happens on Sunday.
Oh, the locker room is fired up, so that's all that matters. You can catch more of Stephen on the 6 o'clock Sports Center later on today. Stephen, thanks so much for the insight.
We have convened a panel here. We've got our NFL reporter, Jeremy Fowler, with us, and our NFL analyst, Mina Kimes, as well. And Mina, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to make you do a little work here. This is like a hard question on a test. If it is Phillip Rivers starting Sunday, draw me up a game plan, a world where Rivers has success against a very nasty Seahawks defense.
Yeah, it starts with keeping Phillip upright, obviously, right? And the Seahawks defense is good at many things, but one of the things they are amazing at is getting pressure with 4. So when you think about this from Shane Steichen's perspective, obviously Jonathan Taylor is going to be a big part of that game plan. You also want the ball coming out quickly out of Phillip Rivers' hands, which is something he's always been very good at. The problem from a matchup perspective is the Seahawks run defense second league-wide in yards per carry. The Seahawks pass defense against quick game, second league-wide in yards per play. I mean, you're probably catching a theme here. They're good at literally everything. So for me, I think it actually starts on the other side of the ball with Lou Anarumo's defense. Got to turn over Sam Darnold. I really believe this is about field position. Darnold has been great this year. There's been moments where he struggled with blitz, some of the more exotic pressures that Brian Flores sent the Rams. So I think for the Colts, this has to be a team-wide effort. It's about complementary football and trying your best to put your 44-year-old quarterback in a position to succeed.
All right, Rivers, if he does start, the Colts are a 13.5-point underdog. That'd be the biggest dog that Rivers has ever been in.